Okay, what I'm doing now. Oh, am I recording my mic on? Yeah, it's on. Okay. So, okay, guys, this is just a project that I started recently, and I wanted to log everything I do for it. So what I'm doing now is, let's talk about me just briefly. I'm a PhD student, PhD candidate in biology, and I am currently conducting experiments, and I will have um, some good amount of data to analyze. And this made me think about, like, I haven't done this before. I studied Naval Architecture Engineering previously in my undergraduate, and I have a master's in marine technology. So biology is new to me. I'm a fourth year PhD candidate now. So, I mean, I made a long way. I come a long way, but I haven't done any data analysis. And, I didn't give meaning to the data I collected before. So I was searching, and I came into this concept of data analysis, data science, and I got interested in because um, data science seems like the steps seems like what I'm going to do in my PhD thesis. So I thought maybe I just, um, follow the steps that a data scientists follow to become a data scientist. And that helps me with my project. Plus, when I complete my PhD, maybe I go take a business, I go take a job in the data science field. Anyways, this is why I am doing this. The reason I'm recording all my sessions is because it creates accountability. So I'm hoping to be more disciplined. So I'm creating that environment for myself. And also, it will help me to see how much I improved in time. Basically, to see how this how my progress evolves in time. So what I did so far until today is I found this guy Ken G on YouTube. It seems like he gives pretty good information on data science and how to become a data scientist. What I'm specifically looking is people giving insights. When you do something, when you're good at it, he says, I don't know if if the video I watched was recent, but he said he's doing this for 5 years. So he has a lot of experience, and he talks about like what not to do, what definitely you should do, etc. So that's the information I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking for filtered information. So this is why I am following this guy's tips. So I am creating myself a Notion page. This is where I'm going to keep the written information, and I will try to do something related to data science every day, if not a couple of times a week, and record all my sessions and upload them to YouTube. Um, I don't say that this will be fun for you to watch, but maybe if I can continue this for a long time and, actually become good at what I want to do, analyze data and create products, maybe you see how someone who has no prior experience in data analysis and data science um, becomes a data analyst or data scientist, or becomes good at these concepts. this will hopefully show you, like I'm including every step. For example, watching YouTube videos about it, making research about it on the internet, writing code, because all these small things like watching videos, taking notes, they seem unnecessary, but it takes time, and time is the currency, right? So I'm recording everything here, and I'm counting them as I'm counting them as a study, because I'm basically researching, for example, by watching Kenji's videos and taking notes of it. So this will be basically what I do. My plan is to keep videos short by speeding things up, skipping the less important parts, and make 10-15 minute videos, like shrink 10-15 minute videos, shrink 1 hour videos to 10-15 minute videos. Okay, so I have already downloaded, let me show you. So I've already watched some videos, but I haven't taken any notes. So I have PyCharm installed. I have Python 3.9.5, I guess, installed. I have Anaconda installed after watching Kenji's videos. And today, what I want to do is I want to, there was a video I watched from this guy. Like this seems relevant. I watched this, so I'm not gonna go back and do this again. This is not my interest, no. I watched this. Not my interest at this point, but it's good to, I watched it, at least get some idea. Okay, this is definitely something I want to watch again and take notes. I watched some of his what you should do, master's certificate programs, etc. I'm already doing PhD, I already know more than most of the people. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm not an undergraduate. I did a master's, and I'm a fourth year PhD student. I'm a candidate now. I passed my exam. So I studied calculus in my undergraduate. I haven't taken any statistics course though. So the thing is, I don't like taking courses, because taking courses to me is just a waste of time. I'm not saying this for all courses, but for most courses, it's, to me, for my personality, it's a waste of time. I learn by doing, so I have to jump in to the pool of problems. That's how I learn, and how I enjoy learning. So I'm not going to take any classes except, some fast forward coding classes. I watched this one. Landing jobs is not my with this one. I wish this guy had. I looked at his playlists, but there's nothing that helps me find those videos that is related to the career advice part of this, of data science. Not interested in, and it's too late for me. Okay, this is 9 months ago, but I'll just check this. I've already opened a video about this, which was more recent, but let's just quickly check this one as well. Okay, I definitely have a video here open, but more recent. Interesting. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, look at this one. This one. I looked at this one and I already decided, just study on my own. If you're disciplined, it's a lot better than any of these. Okay, good. I think I watched this one, but I maybe watch this in 1.5x speed and take some notes. Okay, I think I have enough. Okay, and this one. Okay, this is enough. And I also have, I use Be Focused, which is a Pomodoro timer. So I study in 25-minute portions, episodes. So I don't want to spend more than 1 hour on data science day because I have to go to lab and do some lab work. But so this is, I'm already like 16 minutes in of my first 25-minute episode. Okay, so let's start.
Be able to see that everything is the same, except it does not.
Okay, I was watching this one just to, because he's saying like there are different stages of data science, projects like data exploration, data manipulation. I was just wondering what they are, and this is why I was watching them. It's
As crazy as this might seem, at one point in time, hello everyone, Ken here, back with another video for you. As you can.
So, okay, let's start with this one. Let's start with mistakes because I don't want to do them.
I too was a data science beginner. I've come a long way, but it hasn't been without my share of mistakes. In this video, I'll walk through some of the beginner mistakes that I made when I was learning data science, and some of the ones that I've seen other people make as well. Hopefully this video helps you to avoid the common pitfalls of learning this field. Make sure you stay to the end because we finished on a positive note with some ways to avoid these traps. The first mistake that I see people make is that they spend too much time deliberating on where to start. People are constantly asking me which resources are the best and which they should personally pursue. I get it. I 100% faced this exact same problem when I was beginning my own journey. But over time, what I found was that almost every resource that I've tried, and the ones that are fairly widely used, they're pretty darn good. The teaching styles of the different courses that are out there are a little bit different, but almost every resource also has some free material so you can experiment and see if it matches your learning style.
That was Bahar. She's my she's my wife.
Just to explore a bit, find one that you kind of like, and dive right in. Don't spend time worrying about if you made the wrong choice or not. Something that people don't realize. Learning is additive, and learning from multiple places is encouraged and can help expand your knowledge. There's no one right place to start for anyone, and you should find a resource that seems good enough and just jump in. Either way, the only way you'll truly know it's wrong is if you try it and you don't like it.
Okay, what I like to do in Notion, I don't know if you're using this or any other note-taking apps that you have your to-do list, etc. I like this because this basically helps you create a database and search in it and do really cool stuff. When you make a beginner mistake, I guess this will be the face you make. Yeah. So and guys, I honestly can say that I'm kind of following this suggestion. I started to think about doing this and like learning data science, or let's say I don't know if I want to learn all the things in data science, like all the stages, like for example scraping, data scraping, because I'm a PhD student. I collect my own data. However, um, it seems like, yeah, as I said, the rest of the steps seems important and seems like I'm going to use them in my research. So I thought, okay, let's do this. Let's learn those data science skills and use them in my project just to begin with. And I just watched some videos, found this guy. Okay, I said, let's this guy to be my mentor. And I basically started. I watched his videos. I downloaded on Anaconda, um, and here I am. So I guess I didn't lose any time.
I'm a firm believer that most people learn best from examples. Unfortunately, when learning data science, it's really easy to get wrapped up in the theory and not be able to connect it to the real world. I've seen so many new data science learners say that they know all the theory behind linear regression, but they're completely dumbfounded when it comes time to apply that knowledge. Don't get me wrong, the theory is very important, but you can actually get a better understanding of the theory if you're applying these models in the real world. I firmly recommend that you start getting involved with data science projects far before you feel like you're ready. Getting involved can be as easy as just reviewing other people's projects on Kaggle or watching the project examples that I've put together on my YouTube channel. Something that scares a lot of people is that they think a data science project has to be something big and scary. A project doesn't need to be some end-to-end data science web application where you've also gone and scraped the data. It can be something as simple as writing a for loop to print your name over and over again. In my mind, a project is anything that's hands-on where you're applying your knowledge and you're also creating an output. Start with very small projects, little toys, and advance to bigger and better things. Also, these big projects can be broken down into very little tiny projects, and each of those individual small projects aren't very overwhelming to start. Some of the projects that I've done on this channel have been scraping data science job applications and analyzing them. I've broken that into 7 parts. Making a sports ball classifier, and creating a YouTube leaderboard for everyone who comments on my videos. Through these, I've broadened my knowledge of Git, of web scraping, of computer vision, and using tools like Docker. I don't think if I studied any of these concepts or tools independently, I'd have as good a grasp of them as I do now. One small project that would really help me out is if you like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications. It helps us to all beat the YouTube algorithm together.
Never snap to guides. We want your mind. We don't want your software.
Every week, I probably get around 20 people that ask me for individual mentorship. While I'm extremely flattered, at least right now, I don't offer this type of help to people. While I think overall mentorship is a really good thing, I also believe that it should be reserved for the later stages of the data science journey. One of the fairly unique things about data science is that often there isn't a single person that has all of the answers. I find that it helps to crowdsource or go to a community to solve the problems that you're facing as an individual, especially in the early stages. I also think that it's really important to become self-sufficient when you're starting out. I would say that almost every beginner technical question has already been answered online somewhere. Learning where to look and to debug your own work is one of the most important skills that you can learn in this field. Trust me, you'll be doing it.
Okay, I usually take 5 minutes off, but I just continue.
Amount of debugging for any project you work on. It might be a bit of tough love, but struggling with the early problems is a very important learning experience for any prospective data scientist. Continuing on from tough love, but struggling in this field. Trust me, you'll be doing an absurd amount of debugging for any project you work on. It might be a bit of tough love, but struggling with the early problems is a very important learning experience for any prospective data scientist. Continuing on from the previous mistake, I find that most beginner data scientists give up on learning just a little bit too early. When things start getting hard or when people get stuck, it's really easy to stop the process. I was 100% someone who fell into this category. But after reading about 1 zillion self-help books, I found that if I pushed through this resistance, that is where the true learning really took place. It's proven that we learn the most when we stretch our capabilities. And we almost always have more in the tank than we think. Actually, one of my favorite, authors, personalities, whoever it is, David Goggins, thinks we have about 100% more to give when we think we're completely done. I personally have a 10-minute rule that helps me with this. When I feel like I'm done, I force myself to go on for another 10 minutes. If after that, I want to stop. So this might sound contrary to the previous point, but please bear with me. Different people will face different obstacles when they're learning, and I'm trying to cover my bases as much as possible. Some people actually try to learn too much too fast, and they completely burn out. Data science is a marathon and not a sprint. In this career, you'll always have to keep learning, and it just isn't sustainable to try to learn everything in a very short period of time. From observation, the people who make it in this profession are the ones that love what they're doing and are slowly chipping away at the gigantic body of knowledge. To be fair, there are some people that catch an obsession with the field and really don't burn out after long hours. If you're one of these people, great. But I haven't seen too many people with these characteristics that can keep that fire of obsession going for an extended period of time. For this, I recommend, again, creating good habits, creating systems where you're learning data science continually. Don't worry about all the knowledge that you have to learn. Just focus on what you can learn in an individual day or in an individual study session.
What turns you on?
What turns me on?
So I touched on this a little in my video on why you probably won't become a data scientist, but a big thing that many beginners overlook is that data science might just not be a good fit for them. Data science is an appealing career because of the income and the cool problems that you get to face, but the reality of the work often isn't that exciting. For most data scientists, you spend a lot of time coding, a lot of time cleaning data, and not a lot of time working on sexy deep learning and computer vision problems. I think you have to really enjoy the work or have an extremely compelling purpose that motivates you to do these types of tasks and have longevity in this career. I would take some deep introspection. When you ask someone what makes a good data scientist, most people will tell you that they have to be good at statistics or programming. What most of the population won't tell you is that you also have to have a very strong understanding of the topic of your analysis. Knowledge. The true value of data science work comes from creating solutions to real world problems. I would say a good data scientist is someone who can drive value with their work, regardless of how fancy their code is and how complex the algorithms that they use are. This is one of the reasons that I recommend that you work on projects related to things you're passionate about. You can show your subject area expertise through these and really highlight your ability to go deep on a topic. My specialized experience in sports is something that has really carried me a long way and created many opportunities for me. On my podcast, Ken's Nearest Neighbors, I also really try to highlight the ways that my guests have differentiated themselves from the pack. Notice that these mistakes don't focus on the order of learning things, the programming languages that are needed, or the tools. I did this on purpose. In data science, tools change. The content you learn can also change depending on your specific job. I believe it's more important to
I want to listen to this again.
knowledge. The true value of data science work comes from creating solutions to real world problems. I would say a good data scientist is someone who can drive value with their work, regardless of how fancy their code is and how complex the algorithms that they use are. This is one of the reasons that I recommend that you work on projects related to things you're passionate about. You can show your subject area expertise through these and really highlight your ability to go deep on a topic. My specialized experience in sports is something that has really carried me a long way and created many opportunities for me. On my podcast, Ken's Nearest Neighbors, I also really try to highlight the ways that my guests have differentiated themselves from the pack. Notice that these mistakes don't focus on the order of learning things, the programming languages that are needed, or the tools. I did this on purpose. In data science.
Okay, there's a landscape work outside, so I'm just gonna close the window.
Change. The content you learn can also change depending on your specific job. I believe it's more important to focus on avoiding the behavioral obstacles over the technical ones. These are a few ways that you can overcome these in your life. The first thing I recommend is to create great habits. Much of the data science mistakes can be addressed by creating systems that create positive feedback for yourself. I created the 66 days of data and the community associated with it to help you create good habits and have a place to learn with others. The second thing I recommend is to have a bias towards action. Too much deliberation really leads to stress. Taking action in your learning and in your projects helps you to build momentum as well. When you learn something, turn around and apply it immediately. And remember that projects don't have to be these big, scary things. They can be small toy examples that you're just having fun and experimenting with. The third thing I recommend is be real with yourself and your expectations. Some people can learn enough data science in 6 months to land a job. I was not one of those people. Some people can sit and code for 5 hours straight. Again, I'm not someone who enjoys long hauls like that. Experiment with your own personal boundaries and match your learning efforts to them. Data science isn't a competition. It's a long journey of slow and enjoyable progression. Work at your own pace, and I assure you that you'll enjoy the ride a lot more. Also, if you find that data science isn't for you, that's totally okay. There are plenty of other professions that aren't as heavily focused on continued learning with so much overhead associated with upskilling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and good luck on your data science journey.
Wow, look at this.
Your interests as well as
Okay, I am experiencing this for a while. If you want to change something, you have to take an action, and to take an action, first you have to define it. For example, if you don't want to overeat, then use a smaller, maybe use a teaspoon. And I don't know, if you can't resist junk food, then don't buy junk food, type of thing. So this is why I'm taking these notes, just to remind myself. Okay, so these are my notes for this video. And I hate the Zoom bar. Zoom or anyone from Zoom. If you're watching this, oh, I cleared all my list, but that's okay. I was never checking it. Zoom, if you're watching this, please fix this weird, ugly thing.
Wow, I had a pretty terrible fashion sense back then. So by far, my most popular video is the one I made about how I would learn data science. Would I take if I were doing this over again in 2021? First, I believe that you should start by learning programming. I find that with this skill set, you can start building things which allows you to apply almost everything that you learn going forward. Quick example, let's say I wanted to better understand how gradient descent works. If I learn the programming first, I can find code to build it and see it work on real data. For me, that makes it far easier to understand than just staring at a formula. Next, I recommend getting familiar with statistics and data science algorithms. For this, I maintain that you should do just enough to get started with working on real projects. This isn't to say that the statistics and the algorithms aren't important. Again, I think for most people, it helps to get your hands dirty with these first. When you go back and take a look at the theory, you never know, it might just click. For free resources, Kaggle.com is great. I also have a discount code for 365 data science below if you're first. When you go back and take a look at the theory, you never know, it might just click. Aren't important. Again, I think for most people, it helps to get your hands dirty with these first. When you go back and take a look at the theory, you never know, it might just click. For free resources, Kaggle.com is great. I also have a discount code for 365 data science below if you're looking for something more robust. They're in the process of switching to a new learning platform, and honestly, it looks pretty awesome. Kaggle.com is great. I also have a discount code for 365 data science below if you're looking for something more robust. They're in the process of switching to a new learning platform, and honestly, it looks pretty awesome. You'll likely ask, when am I ready to move to the next step, whether it's after learning coding or after learning some of the basic statistics? Honestly, most people will never feel like they're ready to move on. You should keep going in spite of this. For programming, you should have a basic understanding of variables, of loops, functions, and how to deal with packages. For statistics and data science algorithms, you should understand the difference between regression, classification, and clustering. You should also be able to manipulate data with pandas and train a model with scikit-learn. Again, theory is extremely important, but we should, and honestly, it looks pretty awesome. You'll likely ask, when am I ready to move to the next step, whether it's after learning coding or after learning some of the basic statistics? Honestly, most people will never feel like they're ready to move on. You should keep going in spite of this. For programming, you should have a basic understanding of variables, of loops, functions, and how to deal with packages. First, have a basic understanding of variables, of loops, functions, and how to deal with packages. For statistics and data science algorithms, you should understand the difference between regression, classification, and clustering. You should also be able to manipulate data with pandas and train the difference between regression, classification, and clustering. For statistics and data science algorithms, you should understand the difference between regression, classification, and clustering.
I wish she was a bit more clear about what he means with understanding, studying it deeply, or just having a brief understanding. Like, for example, regression, I usually use this. I mean, as I said, I didn't take any statistics course, but I come from engineering. We use these type of stuff, and I do some computer vision, so I know like k-means, for example, or I do some machine learning with my students, undergraduate students, so I know what a classification problem is. So I have some basic understanding, but is this enough?
You should also be able to manipulate data with pandas and train a model with scikit-learn. And theory is extremely important, but we should go back and learn it as we use the individual algorithms more. Now, my third phase is code review. This is something that I didn't stress enough in my last video. Go on Kaggle and clone some of the workbooks, run the cells, rewrite all of the code, take notes on what you don't understand. This will get you comfortable with the packages, the syntax, and everything else in between. It also helps you to start building intuition. Now it's time to build projects. Get obsessed with these. Do as many high quality projects as you can. These will compound your learning and will help you to build a portfolio that will land you a job one day. I recommend doing at least one project on the three main types of data science problems. The first is classification, the second is clustering, and the third is regression. This is by far the best way to actually ingrain the skills. In my own clustering, and the third is regression.
I sometimes rewind because I also want to learn the jargon. So when he says, like here, he is referring to those different types of problems. So, but he used a word for this.
By far problems. The first, I recommend doing at least one project on the three main types of data science problems.
Okay, main data science problem.
The first is classification, the second is clustering, and the third is regression. This is by far the best way to actually ingrain the skills. In my own life, I learned about 5 times more from the projects and the work experience that I got than any course that I ever took. An important part of building projects is also sharing them. Getting relevant feedback and being held accountable are things that can supercharge your learning. On that note, let me know in the comments section below about what projects you're planning to work on in 2021. I love hearing about these different things, and they really get me excited to do my own projects. Before we move on, I have a couple very important notes to make. First, these steps don't necessarily have to be done sequentially. They'll most definitely lead into each other. Second, you're never done learning these things. It's a continuing process. You never master Python or master an algorithm. You're constantly reminding yourself and refreshing your knowledge. As I mentioned before, you'll also likely never feel ready, and you just have to constantly push yourself out of your comfort zone. Finally, for most people, including myself, this is not easy. You get stuck, you wrestle with things, you go on Stack Overflow, you get frustrated, you start pulling your hair out. This is part of the career. While it sucks, we should learning. So let's move on to the things that I personally learned this year about my own learning. So the first thing that I changed about how I went about learning data science before would be to start with a plan this time. For my 66 days of data challenge, I thought I'd just go back through learning some of the things that I thought were interesting and brush up on resources that I used in the past. I'd also mix in some projects here and there. Honestly, this is a pretty bad idea. I was constantly fighting for what I should work on next and how to integrate it into my new journey. I recommend following some structure through this next learning progression. You can use an online program like Kaggle.com or 365 Data Science, like I'd mentioned before, or you can create your own curriculum. Most universities have their curriculum online for free, so you can see how they're building out their coursework, and you could build one around your interests as well as some of the structure that they have existing there. Yes, I'm in the bathroom. I'm running out of places to film. The next thing that I'd recommend is using multiple resources. It can be very frustrating to not understand something. I even personally have issues with self-doubt when this happens. Sometimes though, it's not my fault. I found that the same concept explained in a different way can produce incredible light bulb moments for me. If you're struggling with something, try looking at 4 to 5 different resources. You might be surprised at how this little change can make things far easier to digest. I also recommend this approach for choosing paid courses. Most of the content is very similar. I believe most of the resources are very good, but if you resonate more with the structure of one teaching platform or one individual teacher, that is definitely a reason to choose one course over another. You know, if you don't like hearing me speak, there's no reason to buy my course and hear me talk for 4 hours. You'd be torturing yourself. The third thing that I'd recommend is to make learning a habit. As many of you know, I'll be starting the 66 days of data journey again at the beginning of 2021.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatical.
21. I, along with over 2,000 other people, have found tremendous learning growth through this initiative. Simply learning something every day has a huge compounding effect on your trajectory as a data scientist. The last thing I would do to learn data science in 2021 is to engage with communities more. I've loved learning alongside others on my YouTube channel, the 66 Days of Data Discord, and on LinkedIn. If you want to engage with this video, you can always hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. People have been far friendlier than I would have expected when answering my questions and giving me constructive feedback. And I encourage you to be an active member in these communities. Obviously, you should do your homework first before engaging, but my rule of thumb is to not ask a question if you can easily find the answer on Google. If you can't find an answer, definitely get involved, answer questions, data science, and for your own learning journey. And I'm excited to kick it off by, again, participating in my own 66 Days of Data Challenge. I really hope that you'll join me. We have some awesome companies like HP, NVIDIA, 365 Data Science, Interview Query. A lot of these companies are giving away some free stuff. They're going to be heavily involved. And I think engaging in this community can also pay dividends on your end, being able to have access to a bunch of really cool.
Okay, so my takeaway from this one is like what I think that I should immediately do, maybe tomorrow, because I'm almost out of time today, is to make a plan and create my own curriculum. And I think, look at this source that he was mentioning and maybe, just copy the curriculum he follows to study the subjects and learn in an orderly fashion. Okay. So I'll go back to here and
Well,
Okay, I have 10 more minutes, so I'll just, don't take any breaks and just study.
And here back with another video for you. The most common challenge that I see with people new to data science is figuring out exactly where to start. There are countless that process to learn data science. Unfortunately, what works well for me might not also work well for you. For example, I know that formal education has worked really well for me in the past, and the first part of learning is understanding yourself. If you know the style of teaching that you like, courses out there are generally pretty good. The course that you take is less important than actually getting started learning the material. If you get started and you don't like one of the courses, no one's preventing you from trying a different one. One of my subscribers found that he learned far more from doing his own projects than from following along with the course. This is totally fine, but he never would have known if he didn't experiment with Kaggle micro courses. And I've made a video about other, personally like the free Kaggle micro courses, and I've made a video about other free resources. That I really enjoyed. That's linked above and below. Again, all of these are great options and you can start anywhere. If you're looking for a more formalized option, everyone, I have a great relationship with the 365 data science team, and I have a link in the description that'll give you a little bit of a discount on their coursework. I can't stress this enough, that just because you take one course, it doesn't mean you can't take another one. This is especially true for free courses. You don't just learn about data science once, you're constantly reinforcing data science. It's just one of the many contributors to your data science body of knowledge. If you think of it this way, starting is less scary because you aren't missing out on anything. You're reserving time in the future to be able to check out other resources. The next thing that I would recommend when starting out is to immerse yourself in other people's code. I go on Kaggle.com and just look through the different notebooks that are there. Kaggle's a place where people can share the code that they use to analyze different data sets. You shouldn't be discouraged if you don't understand anything. This is an exercise in pattern matching. What tools do most people use? What visuals do you see a lot of? What words and packages are coming up repeatedly? You should take some pretty rigorous notes on what you see. What I would recommend when starting out is to immerse yourself in other people's code. I go on Kaggle.com and just look through the different notebooks that are there. Kaggle's a place where people can share the code that they use to analyze different data sets. You shouldn't be discouraged if you don't understand anything. This is an exercise in pattern matching. What tools do most people use? What visuals do you see a lot of? What words and packages are coming up repeatedly? You should take some pretty rigorous notes on what you see. And when you see these things coming up in coursework or in your projects, you'll start recognizing these things and everything will start tying. Things coming up are coming up repeatedly. What tools do most people use? What visuals do you see a lot of? What words and packages are coming up repeatedly? Matching. What tools do most people use? What visuals do you see a lot of? What words and packages are coming up repeatedly? What tools do most people use? What visuals do you see a lot of? What words and packages are coming up repeatedly? You should take some pretty rigorous notes on what you see. And when you see these things coming up in coursework or in your projects, you'll start recognizing these things and everything will start tying itself together. The next phase of learning is starting your own projects. In my opinion, starting a project is as simple as writing one line of code. Sometimes it's enough just to do that. Just going through examples and getting your code to run is also something that counts as well. After you get your code to run, you should experiment. What breaks it? Can you change your outputs? As you get more comfortable, you can start integrating more and more tools and start exploring new things. Finally, you should begin to understand documentation. For all of the packages that you found in your notes, go through the documentation for each one. This will be one of the most valuable skills you can learn as a data scientist. To learn even more about data science and to eventually become a data scientist, you basically just in your notes, go through the documentation for each one. This will be one of the most valuable skills you can learn as a data scientist. To learn even more about data science and to eventually become a data scientist, you basically just rinse and repeat these steps at a larger scale. Data science is a process or a journey that doesn't data scientist. You basically just rinse and repeat packages that you found in your notes, go through the exploring new things. Finally, you should begin to understand documentation. For all of the packages that you found in your notes, go through the documentation for each one. This will be one of the most valuable skills you can learn as a data scientist. More about data science and to eventually become a data scientist, you basically just rinse and repeat these steps at a larger scale. Data science is a process or a journey that doesn't necessarily have a destination. I think that almost everyone is capable of learning this field if they get out of their own way and start small. Thank you so much for watching and good luck on your data science journey. With another video for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through the best free online data science courses that really fly under the radar. I constantly get asked about what resources to use when starting to learn data science. There are countless online courses, YouTube videos, certificates, degree programs, etc., and it can be really hard to figure out where to start and which ones are right for you. I think that many of the paid subscriptions like 365 Data Science, DataQuest, etc., are great options, but there are also some free options that are high quality and that barely get any recognition. Stay tuned to the end of the video. Because I'll share how I go about learning data science from scratch if I were to start over again today. Also, please shoot this video a like if you find it helpful, and remember to subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see more content about data science or sports analytics. For your reference, all of the resources that I mentioned are linked in the description below, plus some additional ones that I think you might like. Okay, the first online course that I'm going to recommend are the Kaggle micro courses. As you know, I absolutely love Kaggle, and I should note that this video isn't sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. I just think that they have a great product. They have a few free courses on their platform that show you the basics of Python, machine learning, and deep learning. I personally think the best way to learn data science in general is going other people. For your reference, first online course that I'm going to recommend are the Kaggle micro courses. As you know, I absolutely love Kaggle, and I should note that this video isn't sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. I just think that they have a great product. They have a few free courses on their platform that show you the basics of Python, machine learning, and deep learning. Personally think the best way to learn data science in general is going through other people's Kaggle workbooks and eventually writing your own projects. If you learn the basics of data science through the Kaggle coursework, using the rest of the Kaggle platform will be significantly less intimidating. Kaggle also has a great community where you can ask questions and really learn at your own pace. This course mixes in practical exercises that emulate a real data science project. After completing the series of micro courses, you should be ready to start on your own projects. Again,
Awesome. Honestly, I thought this would be harder.
I stress that projects are the best way to learn data science, and courses that can get you started doing projects the fastest are the ones that I put the most value in. The second course I would recommend is the Google Machine Learning Crash Course. Google has been leaning pretty heavily into the education space since the introduction of Google Colab a few years ago. Side note, if you aren't familiar with Google Colab, it's an awesome tool that lets you run a Jupyter Notebook. The introduction of is the Google Machine Learning Crash Course. Google has been leaning pretty heavily into the education space since the introduction of Google Colab a few years ago. Side note, if you aren't familiar with Google Colab, it's an awesome tool that lets you run a Jupyter Notebook in the web browser and actually use Google Compute resources for free. Again, not sponsored by this or anything. It's just a very good and valuable resource. In the web browser and Colab a few years ago. Crash Course. Google has been leaning pretty heavily into the education space since the introduction of Google Colab a few years ago. If you aren't familiar with Google Colab, it's an awesome tool that lets you run a Jupyter Notebook in the web browser and actually use Google Compute resources for free. Again, not sponsored by this or anything. It's just a very good and valuable resource. Unlike the Kaggle course, the Google Machine Learning course has videos and it offers a slightly different style of teaching. They also, have specific practice questions about each of the concepts similar to the Kaggle framework. This material is slightly more advanced, so I'd recommend brushing up on your Python beforehand. The last course that I would recommend is AI. This probably shouldn't qualify for this list because I recommend brushing up on your Python beforehand. The last course that I would recommend is fast.ai. This probably shouldn't qualify for this list because it's a bit better known than the other courses, but I still wanted to put it here. Fast.ai is probably the best free resource for learning about deep learning on the internet. You generally need to have some experience with Python, but if you want to take your learning really to the next level, this, in my opinion, is the best place. They also have Python learning resources to get you up to speed if you're a little bit behind in that area. Since you've stayed this far into the video, I'll also give you a bonus resource for learning Python. Honestly, I think that there are a tremendous amount of great resources out there, but one place people I don't really see looking into is the actual Python documentation website. I'd want to learn from a resource that the actual creators of the language and the maintainers of the language recommend. I'd look through the list of free resources on the wiki.python page, and I'd find the one that best fits your personal learning style. All this, again, is linked below. I love these resources because, one, they're free, and the focus is also on getting you to learn enough to be able to start doing your own projects. One thing that I always stress is to get your hands dirty with the data as quickly as possible. I also stress watching what other great data scientists do. Going through GitHub repos and Kaggle kernels is how you learn to emulate what the other people who are successful in the field already do. It doesn't matter if you don't understand anything at first, you'll eventually pick it up the more you actually look at it. If I was going to go back to try to learn data science from scratch again, I would first go through that Kaggle course that I referenced before. I would do that to get some of the Python and the stats basics. Next, I'd follow along through different Kaggle.
Very valuable.
And GitHub repos of people who are established in the data science field. You can find these people pretty easily through the Kaggle rankings. I would note any of the packages in the stats basics. Next, I'd follow along through different Kaggle kernels and GitHub repos of people who are established in the data science field. Find these people pretty easily through the Kaggle rankings. I would note any of the packages or algorithms that I didn't understand when looking through their code, and I'd write them down in some form of Word document. Each day, I'd go through that list and try and understand a few different concepts. You'll be shocked after a couple of weeks, you understand and you learn a lot more than you think. Next, I'd start my own small project where I focus on using one or two of the packages and algorithms that I saw in my code review. For example, I'd do a project where I'd manipulate some data using pandas. You understand and you learn a lot. Any of the packages or algorithms in the science field. You can find. Next, I'd follow along through different Kaggle kernels and GitHub repos of people who are established in the data science field. Find these people pretty easily through the Kaggle rankings. I would note any of the packages or algorithms that I didn't understand when looking through their code, and I'd write them down. Form of Word document. Each day, I'd go through that list and try and understand a few. Shocked after a couple weeks, you understand and you learn a lot more than you think. Next, I start my own small project where I focus on using one or two of the packages and algorithms that I saw in my code review. For example, I do a project where I manipulate some data using pandas, maybe make a couple plots in Matlab, and then run a very simple linear regression using sklearn. I continue to do this until I've done plots in Matlab, and then run a very simple linear regression using sklearn. I continue to do this until I've done projects that are very small on each of the different packages and algorithms that I saw other people using. That would really reinforce my understanding of those, again, packages and algorithms. Packages and algorithms using sklearn. Some data using pandas, maybe make a couple plots in Matlab, and then run a very simple linear regression using sklearn. Using a couple weeks, you understand and you learn a lot more than you think. Next, I start my own small project where I focus on using one or two of the packages and algorithms that I saw in my code review. For example, I do a project where I'd manipulate some data using pandas, maybe make a couple plots in Matplotlib. And then run a very simple linear regression using sklearn. Hello, everyone. I continue to do this until I've done projects that are very small on each of the different packages and algorithms that I saw other people. That would really reinforce my understanding of those, again, packages and algorithms. Finally, I'd start doing larger projects that tied multiple of these elements together. I hope that this video helps you get started learning data science. I know it can be very intimidating, but I found that the process after a while was extremely rewarding. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck on your data science journey. Hello, everyone. Ken here, back with what I think is an extra.
Okay, that's it for all, guys. See you. I want to say tomorrow, but I don't know if I will have time, but I'll try. See you tomorrow. If not, the day after that. Cheers.